A video message has been released from members of the Government of Independent Tatarstan in exile, calling on all Tatars to awaken from the imperial chains of Moscow and strive for the restoration of their own statehood, the Republic of Tatarstan. Rafis Kashapov, the Prime Minister of the Independent Government of Tatarstan, scattered the multi-million Tatar people around the globe. We already speak different languages: Arabic, English, Turkish, Japanese. But no matter what, we must try to build our independent state, he said. Farit Zakiyev, chairman of the All-Tatar Public Center, said that Tatarstan was occupied by Russia, but the Tatars are alive. The Tatar language, history and statehood were systematically destroyed by Moscow. We entered the path of struggle for independence, and we will win. Roshan Gizatulin, the representative of the Independent Government of Tatarstan in exile in Bavaria, told that we don't need the imperial Russian tricolor filled with the blood of Kazakhs, Azerbaijanis, Chechens, Ingush, Dagestans, Georgians, Syrians and Ukrainians. We don't need a coat of arms with a mutant two-headed chicken. We don't need someone else's anthem. We have our state symbols of the Republic of Tatarstan: flag, coat of arms, anthem, he added. Tatar activist from Uzbekistan, Gozalia Dodova, said their Russian Empire must be decolonized. Only then can the people living under oppression get a chance to determine their own destiny. Marat Akhmerov, the Deputy Prime Minister for Legal and Legislative Affairs in the government of Tatarstan, said, "If we miss our chance to liberate ourselves from the empire, the Tatar nation will disappear. Over several decades, the Tatar language will die. We will lose our republic. Moscow strives to liquidate national republics. If we don't resist, she will do it." Zufar Zainulin, honorary ambassador of the Republic of Tatarstan in exile in Latvia, said, "Tatarstan is not Russia, but a temporarily occupied state." Dmitry Kuznetsov, the representative of the Republic of Tatarstan in exile in Finland, said, "Karelia and Tatarstan are two states that are occupied by the Russian Empire. Our goal is to give freedom to our people. Tatarstan and Karelia will be free." Ramil Abdrakhmanov, Deputy Prime Minister of the Tatarstan government in exile, Nikolai Bashmakov, representative of the Tatarstan government in France, and Aida Abdrakhmanova, Deputy Prime Minister of the Tatarstan government in exile for national and religious issues, expressed the same opinion. Recall, Government of Independent Tatarstan in exile was created by the decision of the Milli Mejlis of Tatarstan in December 2008 to make the issue of decolonization of Tatarstan international. Government of Independent Tatarstan in exile did it on the example of the Baltic republics, which created their governments in exile after the invasion of the Soviets in 1940. Of course, it is difficult to expect from countries that maintain diplomatic relations with the Russian Empire under the name Russian Federation recognition of us at the official level. Goal of Government of Independent Tatarstan in exile, first of all, is to create joint commissions or committees of cooperation with the legislative bodies of democratic countries in this direction. Ukraine may receive new offensive weapons. US President Donald Trump has given the Pentagon several orders that bring this closer, said Boris Pincus, president of the Ronald Reagan Republican Club. According to the public figure, such weapons could change the course of military operations, in particular strike deep into Russia at key targets. In an interview with Channel 24, Pincus emphasized that the US Congress has been demanding for a long time that such weapons be transferred to our country. This also applies to new American cruise missiles. The uniqueness of these missiles is that they fly below 300 meters, and this is very important because they are not affected by radar. Their range is 450 to 500 kilometers, and this is certainly a sufficient distance, he noted. Pincus also said that such air-to-ground missiles could be used on both MiG and F-16 fighters, and that the American leader had already ordered the Pentagon to sign contracts with 2 U.S. defense corporations to produce such missiles for Ukraine. Media reported earlier that the United States recently approved new aid to Ukraine. It concerns M777 howitzers. The State Department approved the possible sale to Ukraine of repair, maintenance and support services for M777 artillery systems, as well as transportation and logistics. In addition, we reported that the West has changed its approach to arming Ukraine. European countries have already purchased equipment worth $1 billion from the United States. The purchases are being made under 2 separate agreements coordinated by NATO. US President Donald Trump is considering authorizing the delivery of the first JASSM air-launched cruise missiles to the Ukrainian armed forces, according to a recent report from an informed source. The missiles would equip the Ukrainian Air Force's growing fleet of F-16 fighters, which, although comprised of obsolete Cold War-era variants, could serve as effective launch platforms for the missiles while flying deep behind friendly lines. The reported plans to send JASSM missiles follow separate reports by 2 sources with knowledge of the plans for weapons deliveries on July the 14th that the dispatch of an unnamed class of long-range missile capable of striking targets deep within Russia is being considered. It also closely coincides with a statement by President Trump that he will authorize to supply another Patriot long-range air defense system to Ukraine. The president at the time hinted at the delivery of other advanced weapons systems. The enemy in the rear has started to get hit in the teeth much more often, and these are no longer isolated actions every day in Russia. Something is rattling somewhere, and the enemy must take all this seriously and daily fear that something might rattle hard at him. This was stated by the head of the State Defense Committee of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, Kirill Budanov, during a telethon, according to Obozrevetel media outlet. He noted that there are problems in Russia. Since I am part of all this, and knowing at least a little the plan approved by our president, I can say straight out that everything will continue until we end this whole war, and Russia needs to take all this seriously, because after all, we have problems, but they have the same, Budanov said. The chief intelligence officer of Ukraine also commented on the GUR operation to obtain documents for the newest Russian submarine, Prince Pozarsky. According to him, this is more of a demonstration step. Budanov noted that as soon as Russia began building this submarine, the GUR was already working on this object. Regarding the submarine, this is more of a demonstration step because the Russian Federation presented this submarine very pompously. And literally, a few days later, as they say, we showed them the real state. It is clear that this documentation was obtained over a certain period of time. Let's put it that way, Budanov noted. Recall that Ukrainian intelligence officers have obtained classified internal documentation about the newest submarine of the aggressor country, Russia. This is the strategic nuclear submarine K-555 Knyaz Pozarsky of Project 955A Bore A, one of the key elements of the Kremlin's so-called nuclear triad. The GUR noted that the information obtained by the scouts makes it possible to determine the technical features and limitations of not only this submarine but also other submarines of Project 955A, which are crucial for maintaining the imperial myth of Russia's power. As reported, a major leak of data about secret nuclear facilities occurred in Russia. As a result, complete diagrams of one of the bases of the strategic missile forces in the city of Yasny, Orenburg region, became publicly available. Usually, the internal plans of such facilities are a closely guarded secret. However, due to the negligence of Russian officials, it is now known how the Russian Federation's nuclear missile bases are arranged.